YouTubers. Um, I'm sorry about that. My girl's making me laugh. But there's a few topics that I want to talk about today. And, as you can see, there's like a bunch of stuff going on, but I'll explain all of this. But since I've done the 290 unboxing, I really haven't kind of catch you guys up to speed with it yet. But let's just go over it just a little bit, not a lot, because I want to show you guys some other stuff that I think will benefit you guys in the end. And those for the water cooling guys or people that are interested in water cooling. But let's cover the 290. So far, as you can see, let me just give you a look inside. That's the 290 inside there. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but right now I'm working on a little project with my girl, which I cannot reveal to you right now. That's why my computer is off. That's why my computer is not together right now, but I will show you that in another video, upcoming video. But as you can see, my single 290s right there sitting down right now. So, but there's more important things to go over, so we can just, as I said, I can talk to you real quick and let you know. So performance wise, it's pretty good. Actually, I'm quite impressed for a single graphics card being able to play pretty much any title out there, whether it's Call of Duty Ghosts, Black Ops 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. I mean, this single card does it all. Very impressive, how well it was able to handle majority of the games at high to ultra settings with ease, especially with the overclock. Now, the only area that it's a bit disappointing is that it doesn't overclock as high as the 7970s usually overclock, but when it does overclock, you see a big improvement in frames. So that's really good to know. The temperatures, 45 degrees. When I was running on air, it was kind of loud, but if you keep it at 60%, around 60% fan speed, 70%, it's not too bad. It's actually tolerable. You can actually, put your headset on and you don't hear it as much, and once you're playing, you kind of drown out the sound because you're so focused on playing games. So it's not bad. Once it gets up in the 180, 90, it definitely is loud and noticeably loud. As you already know that, on stock cooler, it gets up there, gets pretty hot. Unless you have it 100% fan, it would come down to about 70 degrees, sometimes 80, depending on how cold your room is. But right now on the water, at the clock I have it clocked at 1150 and 1350 on the memory, so it's about 45 degrees. It doesn't even pass that. So it's really, really good on there. Once you got on the water, it's really good. It's really good card. But that's all for now. Benchmark numbers and gaming numbers will come at a different time. But what I really want to talk about is some water cooling stuff that I have. I wouldn't say discovered, but kind of experiment with, because I think, in my opinion, the water cooling community, it's really big, but I think they have stopped experimenting with other things. They're very traditional, like the way it's going. Instead of getting aftermarket pumps, nobody wants to do that anymore. Nobody want to discover and try something new. So you typically find pumps like this in your the water cooling environment, in PC water cooling environment. This is a 355 MCP 355 pump with a EK top on it, which boosts more flow and more pressure. But these are the pump you typically find in the water cooling community, and I feel like they just stopped at these. You don't really see any pumps like this in your water cooling environment, and there's a reason for that, because this is well supported. It has been proven, and and it's a really good pump for what you want it to do. But is it so wrong to want more, or is it so wrong to be different? I don't think we should just stop at just these only, because we find that developers are supporting making aftermarket pump. I think there's good pumps out there for cheaper price that are better than these, and I just think that we need to explore a little bit more and just not just stop just there. What these got going for them is definitely aesthetic. As I said, you can change the top out, and but when you start doing that, you realize the cost of this one little pump can go up to $100, whereas a pump like this costs you about $30. And though it's not conventionally small by any means or ergonomic by any means, this is a lot more powerful. I mean, stupid powerful than this one. And this one can just pretty much do everything you want it to do and more. So what I'm saying is that, while these are great, really supported and out there, as enthusiasts, we shouldn't stop at just these. We should be able to experiment and look for other options as well, especially for people that want to come into the water cooling community and just don't have enough money to spend on to make a pump look so beautiful. I mean, this would be a good bet too. So let's off the topic for a little bit. So this pump, there's this is a Chinese made pump, and this thing is really, really powerful. It's using a DC 3 phase coil motor. I think it's a newer motor, and it's designed for more torque and to be a little bit more quiet than your typical Chinese made pump. So this is definitely more quiet, and it pulls a lot more power. Now, I've bought this off eBay for $16. It's a 24 volt adapter or converter. So this pump uses it's really a 24 volt pump, but you can run it on a power supply, and it will only use 19 watts, but you won't see its true potential until you get one of these things. You don't have to, it doesn't have to literally look like this. You can find, coolants have 24 volt kit, but keep in mind that this pump uses 84 watts at 24 volts. So this thing really is very powerful. This thing, this adapter gives me 72 watts, which is about 3 amps. This thing, this pump requires 3.5, but you don't have to have the 3.5 amps as long as you have enough. As long as you get, I want to say, 80% of the power, this pump would definitely outperform anything on the market. Now, but I will do a demonstration of this a little later. But I want to talk about some other stuff that I have. Now, we see that these days everyone is now starting to move from tube into acrylic, and this is your typical acrylic that they will use. There's a couple of reasons why I recommend acrylic now, and why I'm using it now. Because for one, when you usually run tubing, and you usually either run dye or just straight distilled water with some PT nuke in there or something to kind of kill the algae from growing. What happened though, over time the tubing will plasticize, as they call it in the water cooling community, or just look cloudy. After a while, it's just the way the water runs in the system, the tube adhere to the tube. It just sits there and drags on the tube, and after a while it just kind of coat the tube in whatever it picks up from the metals and the different stuff in the water, and it just kind of like lays it on the tubing. So after a while, it just build up and make it look all nasty and cloudy. With acrylic and glass as well too, is that with these material, there's no, the surface is very smooth. Microscopically speaking, it's very smooth, so there's nothing for the water to kind of adhere to or to grab onto. So typically you can run this with clear water and it will look clear even 6 months after, because, you know, there's just nothing for the water to sit there and grab onto or adhere to because it's so smooth. So this is a good reason why you use acrylic, because it doesn't get cloudy. You can always wash it off and reuse it again. And you can also bend it with some heat, with appropriate heat. You can bend it, as you can see on YouTube. You see guys using silicone, a solid silicone piece, and they insert it inside. Once you insert it with, you're gonna need some obviously you're gonna need some oil to do this, but once you insert it inside, it can go in actually easier than this, but I don't know, I think this end is all swollen. But once you insert it inside, as you can see, you can, you know, apply some heat to it and then slowly bend it. Okay, but you see, people stop here. See, I'm a type of person that I like to go out and, you know, try different, you know, as I said, you know, sometimes when people jump on this type of thing, it gets expensive. And for me, I always try to make my build a bit artistic, a bit different from any other people's build, because, you know, you typically see, you know, once they set the trend, everybody jumps on it and it looks the same. It might, you know, the routing might be different, but the material, everything is just the same. For me, I like to have some kind of difference in my build. I like to have something that someone doesn't have or someone never thought about doing, you know, without paying so much money for. So that's just the type of person I am. So I would go out there and research and do my own thing. So I've used this type of tubing before. I'm sure you've seen this at Home Depot. This is polyethylene tubing. I might not be saying it right, but I'm guessing it says polyethylene tubing. It's a very kind of rigid, semi-rigid tubing, which means it's not completely stiff. It is flexible, as you can see. It's in a circle, so it's flexible, but it's very rigid at the same time. And what that means is that since this is rigid tubing, and this is flexible, what that means, you can technically take this tubing, as you can see, and bend it just like you would do acrylic. The only difference is that this is a bit more of a softer material. As I said, you can actually bend it. As you can see, it's already bended, but it's very also rigid. So if you can apply the same technique like they do by putting, you know, a solid piece inside, so that way the walls don't collapse while you're heating it up, you can actually get it to bend, as you can see. So no one would have thought of this. Some people out there would have. I'm pretty sure some people might even be using it as I speak, but no one typically thought that, you know, to use a material like this and bend it. So it goes to show you, you know, sometimes it's good to be a bit different, you know, just, you don't have to follow everything people do. You know, you try to be, you know, a bit unique, and that's what I always try to do. I try to be a bit different, so when people look at my build, they'd be like, what kind of material are you using, or where did you get that from, or, you know, it makes your PC more appealing. It makes it look more unique, because, you know, you don't have anything similar in the computer, you know, you don't have the same thing, you know, so it just gives it a very unique look to your PC. So as you can see, this is acrylic and this is polyethylene tubing, and as you can see, I got it bending and it stays there. Now it's flexible, as you can see, flexes, but once you get the bend, it stays there. Okay, so that's another option for those that want to try this out, that, you know, might find these a bit expensive. You can actually go to Home Depot and get a 20 foot of this for like $10 or so, and you can just, you know, as I said, take a heat gun, straighten it out, and then insert one of these, and you'll be able to bend it. You know, you'll be able to slowly apply the heat and bend it, and there you go. You pretty much, you know, have what you need. And it also fits in the Bits Power C47 fittings. which this fitting is really for SLI, like Crossfire and SLI water cooling crystal links, but you can use it for a full-on acrylic water cooled build. So as you can see, it fits right in. If you can run up the edge, I didn't run up the edge yet, but you can run up the edge like you would do an acrylic tubing. Like as you can see the edge here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it right. Let me look. Make sure you guys are seeing this. But as you can see, I round up the edge. You can round it up the edge too on this. But as you can see for a demonstration that you can actually fit it inside there because they're the same size. Okay, so as you can see, it fits right in. Okay, so and it's hard to come off. As you can see, I have to apply a lot of pressure to take it off. So as you can see, it does work. It does get it done as well as much as the acrylic. The only difference is that it's kind of white frosted, so it gives a nice sort of frosted look to whatever coolant you put in there, which is pretty cool. As I said, this is another option other than acrylic that is cheaper. You can find it at Home Depot or Lowe's, and you can just experiment and do what you want with it. So this is a cool little way of saving some money if you were thinking about doing an acrylic build. So this is polyethylene tubing, and it's also the size is half-inch outer diameter to 3/8 inner diameter. So that will be this would be 12 millimeter by 10 millimeter, but this is 50 millimeter by 10 millimeter. So the inside is 10 millimeter, the outside is 15. The inside of this is 10 and the outside is 12. Okay, so you just need to just round this up a little bit and it will fit right in very easily. Another thing that we need to talk about. Okay, another thing we need to talk about real quick. We got to get this done because I don't want to kind of bore you guys. Is a lot of you guys ask how I made my coolant. Now, I've always wanted to run white coolant, but Mayhems, I'm sure you guys know who Mayhems are. They make water cooling dye and coolants and stuff like that in different colors, and they're kind of expensive. I'm not gonna lie. Their stuff are quite pricey, and I just couldn't justify the price of buying, all their coolant stuff. So I went out and did some research on what I can do to get a milky white coolant, and I've looked, and I kept looking until I found something that caught my attention, and it was this thing. It's called Milk. Sorry about that. It's called Milk-Tex. As you can see, Milk-Tex. It's fake milk. This is what magicians use in their, I think, milk bucket trick. What it is pretty much machine oil. And when you pour it in water, it creates a emulsion in water. So it makes the water look really milky white. Now, one would ask, why would I want to use this as a coolant? Well, the thing is that it's only oil, you know what I mean? And there's plenty, if you go to machine manufacturers where they have CNC mills and stuff like that, they pretty much use this as coolant in the water. They just mix this and use it as coolant. That's why sometimes when you see they're spraying white coolant, it's pretty much oil and water emulsion, you know what I mean? The oil acts as a lubricant while the water, cools off whatever that it's trying to cool down at the moment. So that's pretty much, it's it's no different than using, as I said, industrial coolant. That's pretty much what they use. So knowing this, when I bought it and tried it, it actually turned the water like milky white. You couldn't even tell the difference between the milk and this thing. So it was pretty cool. Now, once I figured that out, I heard a lot of people saying, oh, well, it's not good to use food coloring, because it stains. And you can see it does stain. But here's the thing, like I was explaining. With the oil and water mixture, what it does for you in terms of, especially the PC community and water cooling, it doesn't allow the water to stick in, let's say if you're running straight tubing, it actually slow the process of clouding or plasticizer under tubing, because it creates a coat of oil on the surface of the tubing, so the water cannot stick or drag onto the tubing. It doesn't adhere to the tubing very easily. They just actually slide past the tubing. So it takes a longer time for the tubing to get cloudy than if you were just running straight dye and tubing. So that's a benefit with the oil in the water. And you don't need a lot of this, because it really doesn't change the temperature, because you're only using maybe about 5% of this, and everything else is water, because you don't need a lot of this in order to turn the water milky white, which is, as I said, it actually works out very well. Now I'm going to do a little demonstration to show you guys how you can get a milky blue coolant effect that Mayhem products can give you. Now I'm not trying to run Mayhem out of business. What I'm trying to do is save myself some money and create the same effect without breaking the bank. You know what I mean? So as I said, this is what I said. It's best to break away from tradition sometimes and do research on your own, and you end up having the same things for less. And as I said, I had been running this for almost a year now, and it's proven it works perfectly well. So I'm trying to help a YouTuber out there that may want to, want a milky white coolant without breaking the bank. It's too expensive, so it's a cheap way of doing it, and it still looks great. So let me show you that experiment right now. So I'm going to get some water. Okay. Let me see. Okay. So I have 7 minutes left. So if I break off, I might do a little bit, but I'm gonna try to do this quickly. So I'm gonna take some water. Okay, as you can see, you need it to be warm though. It doesn't have to be hot. Just warm. Just warm. Okay. And you add maybe, just a couple drops in there. About that will do. Okay. And as you can see, you mix it around. And look, you see, it's milky white, look like 1% milk, okay? You want to get it really mixed around, because if you don't mix it around right, sometimes it'll leave these little white little clumps. So you just want to mix it around right till it's all dissolved in there. And you remember, like a lot of people tell you not to use food coloring? Well, guess what? I've been using food coloring in my water cooling coolants, and they haven't caused one drop of stain. You know why? Because the oil, as I said, the oil acts as a kind of a lubricant, but it coats the surface of of whatever you're using, or the tube or metal or whatnot. So the dye can't really stick to the surface of whatever item that you're running it in. You get what I'm saying? So it doesn't stick because of that coating of the oil on the tube or whatnot. You guys get what I'm saying. I'm trying to explain, but I'm not a scientist by any means, but I understand what I'm saying. So so once you do that, you can pretty much use any dye, because it won't stick to the surface of whatever you're doing. But if you're running straight water, then it'd be a different, because as I said, water adheres to things. So if it sits there, it's going to end up dyeing the tubing or whatever you're doing. But if you just so with a little bit of oil in the mix, it kind of prevents that, or it slows down that process of the dye sticking to the surface and staining everything. So as you can see, it's already mixed. As you can see now, I'm going to create a blue coolant for you. Milky blue coolant. So as you can see, I put a couple drop in there, mix it around. Mix it around. And there you go. See? Milky blue coolant. See? It was that easy. And as you can see, you notice that the dye, if I even put, I would dip my hand in there and show you it doesn't even stick. If I had put just raw dye on my hand, even mixed with water, it would stain my hand. But with this mixture, look, dip my hand in there, it didn't stain. That's just residue, but I can wipe my hand off and show you. Thank you, bae. I'm trying to demonstrate this for you guys so you guys can see. As you can see, I dipped my hand in there. And I'm gonna wipe my hand off. As you can see, my hand doesn't stain, or if that, barely stained. As you can see, that's the difference it makes. So that explains why I'm using it, because it doesn't really stain once you have the oil mixture in it. So I hope this helped you guys and give you guys an idea. And as I said, go out and try it. And I mean, trust me, it will work. And as you can see, I already have a red mixture here for my new build when I get my cards in. And this is the next coolant I'm going to be using. So, you know what, these things are accessible. These things are cheap. You can buy this Miltex off Amazon. You can buy a couple of bottles of these, and you can get food coloring at the grocery store, you know, Walmart, any closest grocery store to you, and you can do the same thing I'm doing. So I hope this helps. And I only got 2 minutes left, but I wish I had time to show you guys, you know, my pump action, or I might just record, you know, just add a video to this just to, you know, show you how powerful this pump is. So actually I might just do that. So I'm gonna, you know, once this video ends, I'm gonna break this off and then add another video to it and show you guys that. So I'll see you in just a second.
All right,
and we're back. So let me show you this experiment real quick. As I said, coolant. Let's move that out of the way and show you how powerful this pump is. So while I'm doing this, I hope you guys see, you know, as I said, you know, how different I am when it comes to things like this. I try to be unique with my when it comes to stuff like this. You know, I don't try to follow people, and you know, it's good to research, guys. That's the main goal here. It's good to research. You don't have to listen what your typical people are saying to buy this pump and buy that pump. As I said, I bought my pump for 84 bucks. This pump does cost quite an amount, but the thing is, I don't need a pump top for it, as it already performs good enough. All I did was bought adapters for it. This Power make adapter. It's like a half-inch adapters for these, and it's a half-inch to one quarter of an inch adapter, so you can put like your regular fittings on there. I always explain myself, but let me just show you. It's easier. All right, not making a mess here. So as you can see, there's the adapter, and it adapts to your typical G 1/4 of an inch adapter or threads. So it just fits right in there. So as you can see, you can turn a pump that is not typically a water cooling pump and turn it into a PC water cooling pump. And it's cheaper. As I said, 84 bucks for this, plus the $16 that I paid for this converter. So that would give you a total of what? That would be almost $98, $99. But it's still more powerful than, you know, what you would pay for a MCP 35X pump, you know, a DDC pump. So, you know, and it also has variable control, which I'm going to show you. But let me just demonstrate the power of this pump. If I can have my girl hold the camera for me for a quick second, so I can show you. All right, so I'm about to plug this in. Now, as you can see, this is the the control for it, so I can turn the pump up or down. And so let's turn it on low if I can. So as you can see, we have some pumping action there. As you can see, I can pick it up for you. So I'm gonna keep turning it up and you're gonna see how powerful this thing is. I don't know the percentage as I don't have anything to measure it, but you will see the water splashing up harder and harder as I turn. As you can see, this is not even at full power and it's already flashing up a lot. So let me max it out for you.